What's up YouTube? I'm back with another Shopify app integration video. This one is going to be all about Wishlist King. Wishlist King is a popular wishlist app for Shopify that is also quite developer friendly. Using Wishlist King, you can easily add a wishlist page to your Shopify store, as well as buttons onto various templates to add or remove products to and from a wishlist. Installation is pretty simple and you'll get a good result out of the box with this app, but the great thing from a developer's perspective is that all the customization for the buttons and the wishlist is done in a couple of templating files based on Shopify Liquid that allows us to make HTML level edits. So in this video, we're going to cover the initial installation and look at how we can make more precise edits using HTML, CSS, and Shopify Liquid. Let's jump straight into the computer and get started.
All right, so I'm inside the computer now, and I'm inside my development store called Sexy Shoe Brand. In this store, I have no apps installed currently, and I think this is a fresh install of Debut. Not quite sure, I haven't logged into this store for a while, but basically we're starting from a bit of a blank slate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here, click duplicate, because whenever I make theme changes, I always do it in a separate theme. And I'm just going to rename this Debut Wishlist King. Hit rename on that. If you're wondering why I created a duplicate theme, definitely check out my theme development series that was earlier on this YouTube channel. Very important that we do this, especially when we make larger changes. All right, the next step is to actually go to our apps page and install the app. So this is pretty simple. We click to visit the Shopify App Store, and then we search for Wishlist King. Should come up first result after the ads. It's the one by AppMate, and we just click here to add the app. We grant the app some permissions, and then here we can request a free setup, or we can continue with our own setup. So I'm going to hit continue. And it's going to ask me where do I want to install Wishlist King. So what this is going to do is put some files into whichever theme I specify. So a lot of time people will install it on the live theme. Again, we've talked about this in my theme development series. It's better to do new development on a duplicate theme. That way you don't mess up the original theme. Not that this would mess it up, but you want to keep a clean copy until you're ready to port over those changes. So that's why we're using a separate theme, and I'm going to install it on this preview theme, not the live theme. I'll hit continue, and it'll tell me all the files that will get created. So we're going to create 2 template files, and that's going to be holding our wishlist page and our shared wishlist page. There's going to be a snippet that's going to be created. There's going to be an asset file that holds our CSS in the form of SCSS. It's going to update theme data and the schema for the theme as well. And it's going to create these pages in the admin, which will be using these templates up here. For the snippet, this is going to be the actual HTML code. So we'll see that in just a second. I'm going to click continue. And after just a moment, you can see here the installation instructions. All right, so let's do this right now. I'm going to go into my online store, hit that to open up in a new tab. Go down to here, click edit code. Normally I'd be doing this using ThemeKit, but for the purpose of this video, we don't really need ThemeKit to demonstrate. So I'm just doing it in the online code editor. Okay, so the first one is we need to include the snippet. So as we saw before, there were some changes that were made to theme settings, and they've added this setting right here. If settings.appwk enabled, then we're going to include this snippet in the layout file, which means it's going to load in every page. So we're going to go here, find the theme.liquid file, scroll down to the end of the head right here, and just fix up the nesting. And then hit save on that. All right, next step. We're going to put the link to the wishlist page in our header. Again, we don't have to necessarily put it in the header. This is just a good place to put it, a standard place that you would put this link. So going down to, here we go, section header. I'm going to type that into here. For some reason, I'm getting this glitch with the code editor recently. So I'm just going to refresh the page. And then we can see our header. So I'm looking for where the icons are. If you're ever stuck here, you can always preview your theme and then view the elements in your Chrome DevTools or whatever browser you're using. So I'm using Chrome. I can open up my DevTools using Option Command I. I'm going to put this to the right. And then I can either click here and then click on the element to inspect it, or I can right click, inspect, and inspect the element. And what I'm looking for is some identifying classes in the HTML so that we can look it up. So site-header__icons seems to be the class on the div that holds these icons. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit Command F on a Mac. I believe it's Control F for finding stuff. Site-header__icons. And as you can see, this is where our icons start here. So we've got the icon search, icon login, icon cart. So let's try throwing it in here after icon cart. So this was the bit of HTML that we have to insert, and hit save. Let's check if that worked. So I'm going to refresh the page over here. As you can see, it's on the page. Obviously, we don't want to leave it like that, but we'll get to customization in just a sec. At this stage, we can verify that it's at least on the page. So it worked. On to the next one. We've got the wishlist button on the product page. So I'm going to copy this. Going to head to our product template. Right here. Again, glitch with the code editor, so I'm going to refresh. And as you can see here, this links directly to the product template section. So I'm going to click into that, and this is where our product template is. So again, I'm going to navigate to a product page and find the add to cart button because I think I want to add it underneath this button. So that is product-form__item-submit. Product-form__item-submit. All right, and that's going to take us directly to where this submit button is. So I think maybe right after the button will work. So I'll put that in, hit save, refresh the page over here, and there you can see add to wish list. And you can see this is all interacting. So this is all coming out of the box functionality. We click on this and we have added one to the wish list. Okay. So next one is going to be the wishlist button on collection pages. So I'm going to copy that one, and we have to actually look at the individual tiles inside a collection. But let's start at the very top. Let's search for the collection template right here. So let me do that again because it glitched. Here in our templates, we've got the collection.liquid file. But as you can see, it links directly to the collection.template file. So we're going to go into that one. And then we want to look for in here when the loop actually starts. So it looks like the loop is starting here, and it's including a product card grid. The good thing about using this Shopify code editor is there's this new button here where we can actually go straight to the snippet code. So we're bringing in a snippet here. We can actually click on this, and it'll take us to the code for that snippet. Once again, I'm going to look at an actual collection page so we can see what's going on. I'm going to right click on this products menu here. I actually haven't logged into this store for a while, so I need to see what collections are on here. Looks like we haven't set up any collections here. It's just the home page collection. This comes by default, so that's okay. We only need one example collection to look at. And then I'm going to right click, inspect on one of these grids, one of these grid items rather, and I can see here each of them are contained in a div with a class of grid view item. So I think if we go back to here, we can see this is where the div with the class of grid view item starts. So let's grab that code from over here. Let's go over into this div, put it in there, hit save on that. Let's refresh the page over here and see what happens. All right, so we can't see our wish list buttons yet. Maybe when we hover. Okay, we can't see our wish list button when we hover over these grid items themselves. But if you're paying close attention, you can actually see up here, the wish list button is appearing. So as you can see, when we look inside our code over here, the button is being brought across, but it's up here. Now, why is that? Well, this button is positioned absolute, as you can see here. And obviously we haven't set the position on these grid view items. All right, so I'm going to find the class here and do position relative, and that should solve our problem. Yeah. So now we can add or remove these items to our wish list. They sit nicely in the top right corner of our items here. Okay, so we're gonna have to actually make a CSS change here. I'm going to go into our theme CSS. Depending on what theme you're using and how it's set up, you may not have to do this, but with our theme, obviously we haven't set a position here, and it's a rule within CSS that if you're going to position absolute an element, it's going to find its position within the next parent element that has its position set. That's just a little rule in CSS, okay? So what I'll do is I'll just scroll down all the way to the bottom. This is a very big file. Actually, I think we'll edit it in place. So I'm going to look for grid view item, and there it is. And then here I will do position relative. So the position will be set, but it's not actually going to change the visual positioning of this element. So let's refresh over here and see if our change is permanent. It is. So there you go. We've got this wish list icon here, and when we click it, it adds that item to the wish list, and when we click it again, it removes the item from the wish list. So all that functionality is coming straight from Wishlist King. We just got to figure out where we want to put these elements so that we can use them. All right, so I think that covers the installation. We can now click done here, and the setup is complete. The good thing about this app, at least from a developer's perspective, there's no other customization of the buttons or the wishlist page inside the app. It's now all done in your theme through code. So that's maybe going to be frustrating for some users, but it offers the most customization possible, and that's why I particularly like this app. So you can click on dashboard now, and when you go into the app, all you're seeing is the actual wish list data. You're not seeing, oh, how do I install it, customizing the widget, anything like that. All of that is done here inside the code. And that's exactly what we'll cover in the next part of this video. So to recap what we've done, we've installed a wish list button up here, which will take us to the actual wish list page. As you can see here, we've got an item in here. Then we added a wish list button to the product page. So we can add this product to the wish list. And then we had a, where is our collection? Collection front page. And then we added a button to add and remove products to the wish list directly from the collection page. Okay, so basically we've just placed a bunch of wish list buttons on our website. What we're going to do now is take a quick break, and then after that break, we're going to look at actually customizing this implementation of the Wishlist app. So I'll see you after the break. All right, so in the last part of the video, you saw the basic installation of Wishlist King. But if we actually, have a look at our theme, there's a lot left that we need to kind of fix up or customize. So right here, this is not looking too nice. The position of the grid items is pretty good. If we go into our product page, that's not bad either, but could be better. And especially if you have a specific design need, you're going to need to be able to customize a lot more than that, okay? And that's the great thing about Wishlist King. All the code, as previously mentioned, is in here, and so we can actually edit it in place inside our theme rather than having to, use some sort of user interface inside our app. That always gets frustrating eventually because you get to a point where there's not an option for what you want to customize. And if they don't provide you access to the code, how are you going to fix that? So as developers, this is a great app to use for wish lists because we're able to fully customize. A few things I want to note before we get into customizing is number one, you would have seen when we, put in that tag in our product template. So if we go down, search for this, there we go. As you can see here, if you understand HTML, which I'm hoping you do, this is actually a HTML comment. So it's interesting that we are putting the include word and then the name of this wish list button product inside a HTML comment, but this is just how Wishlist King works. Obviously, it searches the page for this tag, and then the product of that, no pun intended there, the end result right here, if we click inspect, you'll see that it gets replaced with start and end. So it gets replaced with these other comments, and then there's some very real HTML in there once it gets to the browser. So it doesn't stay a comment, it's just telling Wishlist King where to insert content. All right. The other thing I want to note is that it looks a lot like Liquid. It's not true Liquid in the sense that we're not using Liquid tags here, we're using a HTML comment, but you'll see throughout Wishlist King's code that it's very Shopify Liquid-like. And in fact, it pretty much uses the exact same syntax. So it's easy. If you know Shopify Liquid, you can easily customize and work with this app. All right, so now that we've taken into account that we are using comments and positioning our elements using them, let's actually look at the two main files that we will edit in order to change how this looks. So we're going to put in these tags in order to choose the positioning, but for editing the HTML that gets put in its place, we're going to do that from the file in our snippets folder. So if I just search appmate up here, you can see in our snippets folder, we have this appmate-wishlistking.liquid file. And if we scroll past all of this hectic JavaScript, we can see there are some templates here. All right, we've got all these micro templates here inside these script tags. And so what you can do, whenever you see one of these Wishlist King comments with the include keyword, you can actually take this value between the inverted commas or the quotation marks and go over here, hit Control F or Command F, and you can search for that specific template. So right here is where we can edit the code for this particular button. So if we look over here, we look at this code right here. Maybe I can put it side by side so you guys can see. Fortunately, it gets quite stuffy here, but here you can see side by side, this code right here is mapping to this code right here. So we have full control over the HTML inside this file right here, which is super cool. I'll put these together again. All right. The other file, which is really important, which you can see here, is the appmate-wishlist-king.scss.liquid file. If I click on that, this is where you're going to make all your style changes. So CSS changes right here, and you can use variables and all that good stuff using CSS code. All right. This is where we get our CSS from and where we can edit it. So that's awesome. We don't have to necessarily override. We have actual control over our elements and their CSS. Okay. All right, so now that we know where to look for the files in which we can customize our implementation of Wishlist King, let's actually go and make some customizations. First of all, in the header, over here, the first one that is quite obvious is this icon over here and the text after it. So obviously this is a little bit mumbo jumbo over here. I think first of all, let's have a quick inspection. I think first of all, one of the issues here is that we've got text. The rest of these header icons are just icons with no text. So I'm going to remove this WK label and WK count from this wishlist link. So there's two ways we can find the part in the template that we need to edit. We can go to our header and find our source code. refreshing to sort out that Shopify glitch. Let's expand this again. So we can go and find that initial comment, and this will give us the exact name we need to look up. Or we can go to the output HTML and you can see we've got the same value here. So we can look at it in our browser or we can look at the source code. Either way, we have now found the thing that we need to edit. We can go into appmate-wishlist king, the file where we edit our templates, and then we can just put that into our search, wishlist king. So we're looking for a script tag with the ID of whatever we're searching for, in this case, wishlist king. So this is where we edit the link. As you can see here, this matches the code that we were looking at before on the front end. We definitely want the icon. We just don't want the label and the count. So I'm going to remove that right here from our template. Let's head back to the page and play around in our dev tools here. So the big issue here is that these icons aren't displaying inline, and I think that's because we have this search drawer here and these elements are positioned absolute. Now, of course, it's going to be different on every theme, but for our purposes, what we're going to do is stick with this current implementation with the icons being positioned absolute. And so what we can do is we can move this, as you can see by the green up there. When I hover over this, you can see there's a padding on the right. So if we just create some more space, maybe 90 pixels of padding on the right, this will still work, but then it gives us some space to absolutely position these elements. So the first one is this header cart. Instead of right 0, we might do right 45 pixels. And then down here, we're going to have to change this to behave a similar way. So it's going to be position absolute, top 50%. And then a trick to get it centered is to use transform translate. We'll do that on the y-axis, and using a relative value like this, that will center it roughly in the middle. Given how the icon is set up, we want to change this a little bit. Just going off site here, and I think around there is where it looks like it's lined up. Not ideal with absolute positioning, but because of this search drawer here, I think this is probably our best option. Over here, let's move that somewhere in the middle, and then we need to make those changes to our CSS files. So we're going to have to find this in our main CSS file because this is not affecting the actual wishlist buttons. This is an overall theme style. So we're going to go into theme.scss.liquid, refresh due to this Shopify code editor glitch. Let's find that rule set. Here we go. Medium up, so this is on the larger screen sizes. We've got position absolute, top 50%, and right 0. So we changed ours to 40. So I'll change it over here to 40 as well. And then the other one was increasing the padding on this. Site header search for that. There you go, padding 45, change that to 90. And then we're going to edit the CSS of our little wishlist link icon there. So again, we can go into the header and look for the comment again. And as you can see, it's wishlist-link. We then need to search for that in our snippet file over here. Here it is. We're looking for the class of wk-link. So we'll take that link, head over to the SCSS file, look for it, and here we can add in the code position absolute, top 50%, transform translate y, and in brackets, negative 43%. Hit save on that, refresh over on our page, and now as you can see, our changes are now permanent. So we can head over to the wishlist page. Looking at this is not perfect. This probably needs to be positioned more to the right, but I'm not going to focus on getting everything pixel perfect here. I just want to show you guys how we can actually customize. You're also going to need to fix it up on mobile as well. So that's something you'll need to do if you're using this exact theme. Here I just want to show you the principles more than anything, instead of actually customizing a theme that might be drastically different from yours. So that's the header icon. Let's go into the grid, and I think we already made our customization. Yep, so now we can click on it after we made that earlier customization to the CSS. I actually like how the button is. The only change I can think of is that I'd like it to stay there even without hover. So as you can see, when I take my cursor off the item, there is no Wishlist King icon. So I'm going to click on that and find this icon. And obviously we got to edit wishlist button collection, but this is going to be a CSS change. So I'm going to look at the class names here. And as you can see, WK add product, opacity 0. So how it works at the moment is if I click on it, it's going to hold for good, but if it's empty, it's not going to show until I hover my cursor over the grid item. So I want to make sure that this is always at opacity 1. So what I can do is take button.wk-button-collection, head over to my CSS file, find the rule set for that, and right here, that is where the opacity of 0 is set. Instead of deleting that, I'm going to set that to 1. Hit save on that, refresh our page over here, and as you can see, no matter whether the icon is filled in or not, it'll still remain up in the top right corner, even if I am not hovering over that item. All right, so I'm happy with that. Let's head over to the product page. So I'm just going to click on any of these products. And as you can see, we've got our add to wishlist button here, which is all right, but it doesn't look exactly like our button up here. So maybe that's a change we want to make. Maybe we would like to make this add to wishlist button more like the button above it. So I'm going to add some styles in here. Let's actually check the button to see what attributes it has so we can copy them over. Going to go back to our add to wishlist button here, and let's add in the background color that's the same as the add to cart button, the text color, which is going to be white, and what else is there? We've also got some other ones. I'm just going to copy and paste those. So I'll head back into here, paste them in. As you can see, the button's starting to look a bit more like our add to cart button. I'm going to restrict the width to 300 pixels. And as you can see, now it's the same width. Let's look at the padding now on that element. Let's copy that over to our button. Padding, top and bottom of 10 pixels. So there you go. Unfortunately, when I click to add that product to the wish list, those CSS changes disappear because our button is changing. So I'm going to need to rewrite those. Let's not do it in our browser. Let's actually go over and make these changes live on our CSS file. We're looking for wk-button-product. So similar class name to the one we edited on the collection page. Instead of changing any values here, I'm just going to override them. So override CSS. And what did we have? We had copying it over from the button. Let's copy all of this. We want to bring over the max width as well. We want the background color to be these ones right here. Let's see what we got so far with that. Refresh the page, and there you can see it's working for both the in wishlist state and the add to wishlist state. We just need to add the padding again, padding top and bottom 10 pixels. Refresh over here. I think we're going to have to fix up the boldness as well. There's currently a font weight of 600. All right, so that's looking pretty similar. It's just the font weight, a little bit of positioning, but I don't want to get too in-depth here because once again, the principles are what's important here, not the specifics, because your needs are probably going to be different. But clicking on this element, what I can see is a bit of a problem is the icon. We want that icon to be maybe white to match the button text. So how can we do that? If we actually look at the icon and we go into the SVG and we look at the path of the SVG, we can see that the fill and stroke are set to #333. If I change both of these to white, now the icon is white. So now we should be able to find that right here in the code. I can see here we've got an include up here, which appears to contain our button colors. I'm going to search for that, and that's where I can actually edit the colors. So I'll change the #333 to #FFF. All right, let's save that. refresh over here, and there you go. So we've made that button a little bit more like the other buttons on the website while still maintaining its behavior with Wishlist King. Again, a little bit of customization to go in terms of the boldness of the text and position of the icon with the text, but that's all we'll do for this button. All right, so that's all the buttons. The only thing left really is the wishlist page itself. As you can see, this is the default setup. This right here is a product with no variants. So all that shows up is an add to cart button. I'm not sure if I have any products on this store with variants to show as an example. Looks like the answer is no. So all of these products are quite basic. There's no variants, and therefore when you go to the wishlist page, you're not going to see a drop down. So usually if there are variants, you're going to see a drop down here and select a variant before you click the add to cart button. But in this instance, there is no variants, so it's just the add to cart button. If I right click here, we can click on the element and see what we can change. The number one thing I don't like about how this looks are these lines. So if I go into here, I can see there's this style rule here, and if I uncheck that, the border disappears. So let's try and find where we can edit that. That appears to be coming from our theme and not Wishlist King, as you can see from the file name here. So either we can remove this style from our theme, or we can make it clear on the class for this particular Wishlist King element that we don't want any borders on this element. So again, I'm going to start at the very top, look at the template that was created for this page. I can find that template in the templates directory. You can see here there is a page.wishlist.liquid file. Let's click on that, and as you can see, we've got one of these Wishlist King tags here, linking to the wishlist collection. So I'm going to copy that, go over to here, and search for that in the code. So right here is where we can edit our wishlist collection snippet. And as you can see, there are a bunch of other snippets nested inside here. This works just like in Shopify Liquid, except that we're linking to snippets within this single file. So looking for the collection loop and finding that right here, we can see that there are some more snippets nested inside that. There's wishlist-collection-price, wishlist-collection-form. In this instance, we're making more of a CSS change. So let's head over here and look for this element here, which is WK-product-title, because that is where our issue is. If I navigate into the A tag within it and I set an important on the border attribute of none, that will fix it up. So I'll take that class, WK-variant-link, look for that in our SCSS file, and then add the exclamation mark important on the end of the border none rule. And that will override the style that is coming through the theme.scss file. And there you go. Let's make a few more customizations. Maybe we don't want to have the add to cart button show up on hover. We just want it to show permanently underneath the title and price. So in order to do that, we can find the form element within this grid item. Here you can see that the element is positioned to absolute and the opacity is currently 0. So if I remove the position absolute and I remove the opacity of 0, now you can see it shows up without me needing to hover. Let's make that change permanent in our CSS file by searching for the class name of that element. And then here we will get rid of the position absolute and the opacity 0. Saving and refreshing. Now you can see the button here. You don't need to hover to show it. I can see here that we're missing the $sign in the price preview. So let me look at that as well. This is actually going to be a HTML change. So we're going to move out of the SCSS file, move into where we edit our templates, and you can see here are the prices. And so I'll put the $sign in front of all of these. Obviously, you don't want to do this if you sell in multiple currencies, but it's safe to do so if you only sell in dollars. Refreshing the page over here, you can now see that the change has taken effect. So there's a few customizations to our wish list page. Obviously, the possibilities here are endless. You might be working with a different theme, a different design spec, so it's going to be different for every person. The core principles here are that we can edit the template here in this appmate-wishlist-king.liquid file, and we can edit the CSS of all those elements here in the appmate-wishlist-king.scss.liquid file. So Wishlist King is great in that you can use this system, you can use these include tags with the HTML comment syntax, it replaces it with content from here, and it styles it with CSS from here. So in this video, we were able to customize the links up here, customize the heart icon on the collection page to add and remove products to and from the wish list, and then customize the button with the same functionality on the individual product pages. The great thing about Wishlist King, of course, is that we have full customization, as we've seen in this video. So it's a good choice for a lot of merchants out there and a lot of agencies as well.
All right, so there you have it, guys. If you ever need to add a wishlist page to a Shopify site, Wishlist King is a good option. It's probably the most common wishlist app that I find myself using on client websites. There's another one called Wishlist Plus, which if you guys want a video on that, I can do one on that app as well. Otherwise, let me know how you're enjoying these videos. Should I make more of these Shopify app videos? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.